Have you ever watched a movie where one character walks into the room and suddenly the entire dynamic shifts? Not because the plot changes, not because something explodes, but because the energy changes. That's The Housemaid. Because while this film presents itself as a psychological thriller about secrets, power, and manipulation inside a wealthy household, the real truth becomes obvious pretty quickly. This movie lives and dies on Amanda Seyfried, and thankfully, she understood the assignment.
Okay, I'll be in touch.
Please, 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 don't ruin ways, please.
Sydney Sweeney plays Millie, a young woman in a vulnerable position, financially unstable, socially isolated, and clearly carrying more baggage than she's letting on. When she takes a live-in housemaid job inside the Winchester home, it feels like a lifeline. Stability, safety, a fresh start. But you don't need the movie to tell you something's wrong. You feel it immediately. And the source of that discomfort isn't the house. It isn't the husband. It's Nina Winchester.
Because I am perfect.
Amanda Seyfried plays Nina with a kind of controlled volatility that's impossible to look away from. She's warm, cutting, affectionate, dismissive, fragile, commanding, sometimes all within the same scene. And what makes her performance so effective is that she never telegraphs which version of Nina you're supposed to trust. She doesn't wink at the audience. She doesn't overplay menace. She lets you sit in uncertainty. And here's the thing you'll probably notice without even meaning to. Whenever Nina is in the scene, the movie hums. Whenever she isn't, the tension noticeably drops. That doesn't mean the rest of the cast is bad. It means Seyfried is operating on a different level. She isn't just acting within the movie, she's carrying it. She gives the housemaid its shape, its edge, and its unpredictability. Scenes that might otherwise feel routine become charged simply because she's present. And honestly, we should thank her for that.
That's all.
Because The Housemaid works best when it leans into its genre roots. Those glossy, soapy, domestic thrillers where power shifts quietly, where obsession simmers under politeness, and where nothing is ever quite what it seems. This is a genre built on escalation, on discomfort, on the sense that something is being withheld from you, not in a clever puzzle box way, but in a psychological one. When the film sticks close to Nina, it understands that language fluently. When it drifts away, it starts to feel steadier, flatter, like it's waiting for her to come back and restart the engine.
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
Sydney Sweeney's Millie is intentionally restrained. She's guarded, observant, trying to survive without drawing attention to herself. That choice makes sense for the character, especially early on. But it also means the film relies heavily on Nina to inject volatility into every interaction. So when Nina disappears for stretches, especially in the first third of the movie, you may find yourself thinking, okay, where did the tension go? Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, take a quick second to hit that like button. It really helps the channel reach more movie fans like you. And while you're at it, subscribe so you don't miss future reviews, rankings, and breakdowns just like this. All right, let's jump back in and keep the review rolling. The house itself does some strong atmospheric work. It's beautiful, pristine, and quietly suffocating. Rooms feel curated rather than lived in. Hallways feel longer than they should. Staircases feel tighter than expected. Even when nothing overtly threatening is happening, the space never fully relaxes. That's smart production design. And in a few moments, it's genuinely inspired.
It's just like pictures in a book, Candy.
There are visual choices, certain decorative elements, certain architectural features that feel intentionally unsettling. You notice them immediately, you clock them as symbolic, you wait for the movie to acknowledge them directly, and then it doesn't. That becomes a recurring frustration. The housemaid understands tension, it just doesn't always press it. There are scenes where the movie could have leaned harder into discomfort, where a confrontation could have lasted one beat longer, or a silence could have been allowed to suffocate. Instead, it often pulls back, content to let implication do the work. Sometimes that restraint is effective. Sometimes it feels like hesitation. The supporting performances fall somewhere in between. Brandon Sklenar shows more range here than in some of his previous work, and there are moments where his character hints at something darker beneath the surface. Other characters drift in and out of the story without leaving much of an impression. Not because they're miscast, but because the film doesn't give them enough space to matter, and that's where the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. If you plotted your engagement with this movie on a graph, minute by minute, you'd probably notice the same pattern I did. The score spikes when Nina is present and dips when she's not. That's not a flaw in Seyfried's performance, it's a signal. It tells you exactly where the movie's center of gravity is. The second half of the film is where things tighten. The power dynamics sharpen, the emotional chessboard becomes clearer, and not coincidentally, this is where Nina dominates the screen. The movie feels more confident here, more focused, more dangerous. You're no longer waiting for tension, you're sitting inside it.
I am so much happier now that I'm dead.
And yet, even as the story escalates, there's a lingering sense that the film could have gone further. Not louder, not bloodier, just deeper. More willingness to sit in the psychological mess instead of smoothing it over. So where does that leave us? The Housemaid is an effective, watchable psychological thriller that delivers exactly what the genre promises, but not always at the highest possible voltage. It's strongest when it embraces its manipulation, its power imbalance, and its most dangerous character. For all of that, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. Not because it fails, but because it never quite lets itself become as sharp, as nasty, or as unforgettable as it could have been. If you're a fan of domestic thrillers, if you enjoy watching control shift quietly across a room, and if you want to see Amanda Seyfried absolutely command the screen, this is worth your time. Just know going in, this is Nina's movie. So what do you think? A stylish psychological simmer with a standout performance, or a thriller that needed to let its sharpest edge cut deeper? Drop your thoughts below. And me, I'll leave you with this. Sometimes the most dangerous people aren't the ones who raise their voice. They're the ones who never need to.